Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon.
Thank you, Pam. Speaking with intent. We love that. And if you don't know what that means, that's from the Loud program, and it's a really cool program. And for treble clefs, too. So, welcome back to Telehealth once again. Thank you for joining us. I'm Cindy, if you don't know who I am, which is, I don't know what I want to say about that. But looking forward to today. This is a really important topic that we all have questions about, but oftentimes we don't want to think about it until we get to that point, and then we need the
Big crowd today.
I got it all to myself, and they won't talk to me.
And if you're in one of our outlying locations, if you can go ahead and mute your
you don't have the little remote
phones.
I don't know, I haven't messed with it.
Usually
Kootenai Medical Center, would you please mute your microphone until you're ready to ask a question?
Thank you. And yeah, if you can mute your microphones in all of our outlying locations, and then what we're going to do, we are going to save our question and answer period for the end. Today we're talking about it's time to move. Now, what do we do next? And sometimes that's, we've been in our same home 30 or 40 years. Sometimes we transition halfway there and we're in a smaller home or a condo and we need to move to the next opportunity for us. But there's always a lot of steps and it can be kind of scary. What do you do? So today we've been joined by 3 speakers. They're going to work as a panel. They're going to give some information each one. And then at the end, we're going to do a question and answer. But I really want to thank Krista at Fairwinds for helping me put together. Actually, I shouldn't say helping me. She put together these 3 great speakers for us today. And so I just want to say thank you for bringing them together. And today we have with us, we have Leslie Steiner, Account Executive at Intrepid Home Health. Holli Korb, did I say that right?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah. General Manager at Fairwinds Spokane. And Erica Grant with MedBridge at Manor Care. And so they are going to start out talking. They're right up here on our panel. Again, we're going to wait for questions and answers, write them down so that we can get to all of them at the end. This time around, to kind of get the juices flowing, when we're done, we're going to start with the questions here in Spokane. And then we'll go around to all the other sites. But here we go. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Again, I'm Holli. I'm the general manager at Fairwinds, which is a retirement community that offers both independent and assisted living on the north side of Spokane. And we're going to start today just talking a little bit about all the emotions that you're going through when you're thinking that you might need to move. It's normal to feel confused, vulnerable, even a little bit angry when you realize that you can't stay necessarily in the home that you've had or feel quite as independent. You might even feel kind of guilty about having to burden your family or to ask for help from a caregiver. And you kind of want things just to stay the way they are or maybe be the way they used to be. But you know it's time that there needs to be a change. And so when you acknowledge these feelings and be open and keep your mind open to new ways of life that can actually make your life easier and more enjoyable, it makes it easier to not only cope with the situation, but also can prolong your aspects of independence even longer in your life. It's really important that you think of all the things that you might need now and in the future when you're looking to make a change in where you're living. You need to look at your physical and medical needs. As you age and have different diseases that progress, obviously you might need some help with physical things, activities of daily living, everything from shopping, cleaning, cooking, taking care of your pets, also more intensive help maybe with bathing, moving around, eating, also different medical needs, all those things that, again, you might need assistance with. Also looking at your house. What kinds of things are you needing to maintain in your house that are getting more challenging or that you're having to hire out or ask for help with? Social and emotional needs is another thing to consider when you're looking at a change needing to be made. Your social network may have changed. You may have lost people that you used to spend time with or maybe assisted you, whether it's friends, people in your church or social circle, unfortunately may be coming a little bit. And how financially can you afford to pay for them? A nice background little music there, so that wasn't part of my topic, but and so after taking a look and considering all of those things, then it's important to take a look around your house and start downsizing. When you're looking at making that move, it can be overwhelming to look at your whole house and things that you've collected over the years and thinking, where in the world am I going to begin in the downsizing process? Even if this is something that you're looking at doing, a few years down the road, you're not looking at doing right now, starting sooner rather than later can make it a little less overwhelming. And so I've got a few just tips when you're thinking of downsizing on how to start. First of all, making a list of things that are really important to you. What are some things as you're looking around your house or you're walking through your home that you just can't even think of being without? Whether it's, emotionally, something that you remember someone gave to you, it's just really sentimental, or something that you use all the time that you can't imagine not having. And make that list of those things that you just can't be without. Then take another round through your house, and then you can start getting rid of things. If there are things that aren't on your list that you couldn't do without, and you also haven't used them for at least 6 months. If you look at something and you haven't worn it, or you haven't used it, or maybe even food in your cupboards that you have had there for anything over 6 months, probably is something that you could get rid of, whether it's, donate it to somewhere, if you're wanting to have some kind of sale. But those are the things that you can start to downsize throughout your house. After you've done that and you're beginning to thin out the process, start taking a look at your habits, your daily habits. Where do you spend most of your time? You might have a large home. How much of your home do you actually use? Which rooms do you spend, several hours in a day? Are you actually utilizing all 5 bedrooms that you have? If you have a basement, how often are you really going down there? Are you spending a lot of time out in the yard, or you're just admiring it from inside? Again, taking a look at your house and the grounds and what areas are you actually living in? Because again, that's going to determine how much you can downsize and still be comfortable. And then you're going to start taking one room at a time of those rooms that you don't actually use, and actually start boxing things up, giving things away. Again, having a sale or an estate sale if it's something that you choose to do, and just tackling one room at a time that you're not generally living in or utilizing each and every day. And some of those tips will then, again, you can start years out. Even if you're thinking, it's going to be 5 years, 6 years before I'm going to make a move. Perfect. Then start now, and it won't be completely overwhelming when the time actually comes. Because then when you've gone out there and you've done your research and you've decided the place that you're going to move to, or what it is that you're going to do to meet all of those needs that I talked about earlier, you're not going to feel as overwhelmed, and you're actually going to have your list of things that you actually need to still, get by each day and still have those sentimental value possessions as well. So those are my tips in how to start to downsize when you're looking at the environment that you're in just being too large, either for you to take care of or for your needs that you have. So after you've begun that process, then you might get out there and start looking at what are all of your options as far as the living situations? There are so many different possibilities now. It's wonderful, all of the different things that you can choose from. You know, you can start with aging in place and staying in your own home. You know, Leslie's going to talk about some things too that would allow you even more independence in doing that. Staying at home would be a good option for you if maybe you have a close network of people close by you, of family, friends, neighbors that are able to help you out if needed. If transportation is easily accessible to you, if your neighborhood is safe, that's something you need to consider as well. If your home can be easily modified to reflect your changing needs, so it might be that someone has to come in and do some modifications to bathrooms or to entryways, things like that, that make it more accessible to you. If the home and yard maintenance is not completely overwhelming to you, if you still feel like that's something that you have handled or you've hired help to handle. If your physical and medical needs do not require such a high level of care, then again, staying at home might be a great option for you. And then if you have a great personality and you feel like your social needs are still being met, whether it's, again, you have a church group or a senior center or a close circle of friends that's still meeting all of those social needs for you while you're staying at home, then that number one option of aging in place might be very suitable for you in the upcoming years. Another option, though, number 2 on my list would be a senior housing option, something that offers independent living. Independent living might be appropriate for you if you see needing minor assistance with activities of daily living. Many independent senior living communities have, housekeeping. Some of the meals are handled for you. Some of those things that just take a little bit of that stress off of your plate. If you'd like to stay in a place that doesn't require a lot of maintenance and upkeep, because typically the senior living communities, even for independent living, all of those things are taken care of for you. And if you'd like the idea of socializing with peers and having activity options nearby, there should be a lot of different options for you in that way in social, in an independent living environment. Next on the list I have for a senior housing option would be assisted living. So there's lots of different names for assisted living. Some places call it residential care, boarding care, all sorts of different things. The state of Washington even just recently over the last year changed it from boarding home is what they used to call. Now it's officially called assisted living because it got kind of confusing for people out there thinking, okay, what's assisted living? What's boarding homes? What's, in our community, we call our services health and wellness. There's lots of different names for it. But typically, that means that you need some more personal care than what's feasible at home or in an independent living community. But you don't necessarily need round-the-clock supervision by medical care that you would have in a more skilled facility. So assisted living can offer medication assistance, bathing assistance, dressing assistance, all sorts of things. Again, as you start to need more medical care, assisted living might be appropriate in your housing options. And then again, there's also the next step, which would be more nursing home or long-term care. That might be a good choice if your medical and personal care needs have become too great to handle at home or in another facility environment. Or you need a higher level of care temporarily after a hospitalization, but it's anticipated that you will recuperate and be able to either return home or to the other senior care living options that we talked about earlier. So when you're out there and looking at all of these different places that you could possibly move to if your home wasn't an option, you need to think about your level of care, either that you currently have or what you're anticipating that it might be in the near future. Location and accessibility. Is it important that you're near your neighborhood that you've lived in for a lot of years? Is it important that you're near your children or your circle of friends, your church? Those kind of things are important to consider when you're out there looking. Caregiving support. So what are the caregivers like in the facility that you're looking at? And then obviously it's important to take a look at finances. So how much does it cost to live in that type of facility? What kind of means do you have in order to pay for it? Those types of things are, of course, very important when you're looking at all of the options. Just to give you some ballpark figures of what different types of facilities might charge. Independent living, it's a big range, but anywhere, they say between $1,500 and $3,500, again, depending on size, amenities offered. Assisted living, typically anywhere between $2,500 and $4,000. Now, these are monthly prices. And then nursing home care, anywhere $4,000 to $8,000 dollars a month. So, again, taking a look at all of those options out there and what's important to you to really make it a personalized choice is very important in your search. And then I'm going to end before I turn it over to Leslie with kind of a list that I made several years ago of the top 10 do's and don'ts of choosing a retirement community, because of course that's kind of my area of expertise when we're going through those list of senior housing options. So number 1, think through what type of retirement community you would like to move into. Independent, assisted living, nursing home, group home, buy-in, month-to-month lease, etc. You can narrow down your choices right at the beginning by considering which of these options might be best for you. Make phone calls to at least 6 communities and ask that brochures be sent to your home. Tour at least 3 retirement communities before making any decisions. And very important, make sure to experience a meal at each one. Ask for a copy of the most recent state survey so that you can see what kind of grade that they received from the state. Each community should make that readily accessible to you. Talk with the residents at the communities and see how they like living there. Don't settle for the first community that you tour. There are lots of options out there, and you want to make sure that you're making the right decision. Don't forget about the staff. How many staff do they have in each department? How long have their staff worked there? What credentials do they have? And what hours are their staff on duty? Don't just assume that everyone has staff there 24 hours a day. Don't sign a contract until you've read through and thoroughly understand all of the fine print and what it is that you're signing up for. Don't forget to ask about medical services. Do they provide assisted living? Do they have memory care? What happens if you need more assistance than what they offer? And last on my top 10 list here is don't tour alone. Make sure you bring a friend or a family member along. 2 heads and 2 sets of ears are always better than one. So next I'm going to turn it over to Leslie with Intrepid.
Thanks, Holly.
Oh, thank you.
I think I learned a few things maybe as well. So all of this information can be so overwhelming. How many people here today have ever experienced home health? Have ever had home health come into their house? Okay, perfect. So we have some non-rookies in the room when it comes to this stuff. So home health really it's an amazing benefit that is provided under a person's Medicare benefit under their Part A. It's also covered under most health management organizations, HMOs, that you may have a different, like United Healthcare, instead of Medicare. Some people choose to do a Medicare replacement plan. The benefit is still covered in either one of those. And home health is one of the most underutilized benefits that seniors use every day. 1 out of every 7 potential home health patients get home health in their home. The others, they don't know about it. Their doctors aren't telling them about it. And so my job is to make sure to educate the community and come and present to nice people like you today, and get my word out about what home health is. So why are some reasons for home health? Like Holly said, traditionally speaking, home health comes into play when you've had an event or a spell of illness that sent you to the hospital, or it sent you to a skilled nursing facility, also known as a nursing home. And then you need to go home, and then home health comes in to help transition you. And that is true. We do that very well, very well. The home health industry covers that gambit entirely. What happens is you'll do your stay in the hospital. The doctor will say, okay, I'm going to send you home. I'm going to bring physical therapy in. I'm going to bring occupational therapy in. And some folks don't even know what those things are. So home health, our job is to come into your home and bring the services that you would receive at a hospital or at a skilled nursing facility, but to bring them into your home so you can stay at home and get strong at home and thrive at home. And when I say home, home is where you are. The nice thing about home health is we really kind of are transient across the board, whether you are in an assisted living facility like Fairwinds, or whether you are in a group home, whether you are at home and home is living with your daughter or your son or your friend, whatever your home is, that's home health. We're going to come to where you are when you need it and provide those services. So a few examples of the services that we provide. Skilled nursing services. Those are covered by a nurse coming into your home, and they do a gambit of things. They will look at your medication and do a medication reconcile. A lot of times when you go to the hospital, they will change your medication that you may have been on for years and change it all up, and then you're trying to figure out, am I supposed to take this from the hospital, or am I supposed to take this at my primary care? It can be really confusing, and there are some dangerous side effects with certain medication combinations. So our nurse can come in and look at the whole gambit of where you are, what kind of medications you're taking, what's your nutrition look like, what do you have stocked in your refrigerator, do you have help, do you need help preparing meals or help bathing at home. These are all things that we can come in and do. And home health is not 24/7 kind of care. It is meant to be short term, and it's evaluated every 60 days based upon your need. And then so it's a typical home health patient will have a nurse coming in maybe once a week, a physical therapist coming in twice a week, and they'll do it for 6 to 8 weeks until we get you strong and back on your feet, and then you don't need us anymore. The nice thing about home health is that there's no maximum cap on your benefit. So if you use it for a little while at the beginning of the year and then you find you need it again at the end of the year, that's going to be covered under your Medicare benefit. So some of the other services that we can provide is not just the nursing and the physical therapy. We can bring a social worker in for those folks that are, maybe considering the move that Holli was talking about, and whether it's something that you've been forced into because you've had a spell of illness and everything is completely overwhelming and you have to choose right away, and that's always kind of the most panicky type of situation. But our social worker can come in and help you with those things. We can help set up tours at assisted livings. We can help get you a Medicaid application if you need, help get transportation arranged, help bring in private care duty people, folks that come in and can do shopping and house cleaning, those types of things that people sometimes just don't know are available. We also have home health aides that can come in and do light housekeeping. We can help if you need bathing assistance. An occupational therapist is going to come in and help modify your home, like Holli was talking about, making sure you have handrails to keep safe when you are in the restroom, when you're in the shower, making sure your doorways are large enough if you need to use a wheelchair, making sure you have a ramp. Making sure that you have safety awareness in everything that you are doing. One of the biggest factors of hospitalization for seniors is falls. A fall will put you into the hospital relatively quick when the day before you are up and running at 100%. So home health tries to do a holistic approach and look at your entire environment and help determine with you and your family what is the safest and best way to keep you in your home as long as possible. One of the other great things that home health is very, very good at is teaching and trainings. So sometimes you go to the hospital, maybe you have a spell of pneumonia, and the doctor puts you on IV antibiotics, and it's not something you can monitor and dose yourself. We can come in and do that for you, so you don't have to go stay at the hospital to get those medications. You can come home and rehabilitate and heal in the privacy and safety of your own home. So some of the questions that we have is why home care? What are really the benefits of home, staying at home, instead of going to a facility if need be, or a hospital? So one of the biggest reasons is it's delivered at home, and that creates the positive feeling that all of us associate with being at home. When we're not feeling well, where do you want to be? You want to be home. You want to be in your bedroom, resting, and you're comfortable in your own home. Home care keeps families together. It's very important that you have that support system with your family, and spiritually, family and laughter, you can't do much better than that. It also helps to keep your independence. If you are thinking about making that move, but that's something that is down the road for you, but you are having some health trouble and you want to stay in your home, that's what home health is for. We're going to come in and help you do that. Home care promotes healing because you heal more quickly at home. Hospitals can be a pool of different things that you can catch and experience when that's not what you want to be doing. It's personalized care. You get one-on-one care at home. That nurse is there only for you. They're not have other patients to see. They're there just for that hour to take care of you. Home health care is one of the most effective forms of health care. There's a really high consumer satisfaction rated with home health and the services that are provided therein. It takes a special person to be able to come out to your home and provide those services that you need. And the home health care worker are amazing, amazing people. They love what they do. They travel through snow and rain and sleet to get to you and make sure that you're taken care of in times with the recent storms that we've had. Our agency at Intrepid, we spent late midnight hours calling and making sure our patients had power and were safe and had backup generators or were with family that could take care of them when they couldn't take care of themselves. Home care in a lot of cases is a lot less expensive than traditional care that you may have to have in the hospital or in a different facility. And home care is really the preferred choice in care for most all of us. When you want care, home is where you want to get that. So again, it's really great for us to be able to work together with Erica at Manager Care or any of the other skilled nursing facilities. We partner with them. When you go for a stay at a skilled nursing facility and you discharge home, we're going to help you get home and make sure that we are keeping all of the hard work you put in at a skilled nursing facility, all the rehab that you put in, making sure you transition home with that and keep going down that course. The other nice thing about our services is we work well with Fairwinds. We go in a lot there, and that's home for several folks, and that's where we give the home health care. And it's just something that you never really know if you're going to need, but it's there when you need it, because none of us really know when that illness is going to strike or that fall or that unfortunate event. So we're really happy to come and help you stay in your homes and give you all the services that you need. I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Erica. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Leslie. Can everybody hear me? Okay. I am just so grateful to be on this panel because I feel like it is. We work so well together to provide solutions for seniors. And I am Erica with Manager Care. I do work at a skilled nursing facility. So I wanted to talk a little bit about skilled nursing versus extended care versus inpatient rehab. So often one of the first things that I hear out of particularly seniors' mouth is I do not want to go to a skilled nursing. I don't want to end up in a home. And I'm hoping by these two lovely ladies presenting some of the options that we can alleviate that concern. The skilled nursing component really is focused on the rehabilitation and getting you back into home, whether it be in an assisted living or in your private setting with other sources of support. So ManorCare and MedBridge at ManorCare is a skilled nursing facility versus a rehabilitation hospital. Many of you are aware of St. Luke's, this lovely building that's housing this meeting. This is an actual rehabilitation hospital, and the biggest difference between a rehab hospital and an extended care / skilled nursing is that St. Luke's requires its patients after they're discharged to be able to withstand at least 3 hours of therapy per day. At MedBridge at ManorCare, we don't have that requirement, so we can create a program of physical, occupational, and speech therapy based on what our patients can withstand physically and also what their goals are to be able to discharge home successfully. People generally will come to us after a hospital visit, either an elective surgery, maybe a total hip or knee replacement, or after some sort of traumatic event like a stroke or cardiac arrest. And whereas, of course, home is an amazing place for healing, sometimes patients don't have the proper support that's necessary to help them, with the education for managing IV antibiotics or being able to, have that once a week nursing oversight. That's just not quite enough. So they'll go to an extended care facility to receive just more daily therapies as well as daily nursing oversight and 24-hour coverage there. The average length of stay at our facility is going to be about 30 days. So once again, just want to reiterate that it really is focused on that short-term component. To put it sort of candidly, we like to give you a tune-up and get you back out on the road, so to speak. We offer different therapies, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech. Now, the physical therapy, that's going to focus on those larger muscle groups that's going to affect overall strength, conditioning, and just those general larger muscles. And then the occupational therapy, they really work with more of those finite motor skills. An occupational therapist would help with those activities of daily living, as Lisa was talking about, bathing, dressing, helping somebody be able to get back to doing that more successfully. Or even, for example, at my facility, we have life stations. So if you were doing your dishes and your own laundry, before you came to my facility, we would actually have an opportunity for you to do that again, so you can actually experience what that would be like and get back to doing that successfully. Speech therapy is going to be more of those swallow evaluations. We see that a lot with stroke victims. It also is a way to look at cognition and memory. We also, in addition to the therapies, focus on nursing oversight. So if somebody requires feeding tubes, wound care, or IV antibiotics and they're unable to manage that at home, that's something that would be a qualifying skillable need. And when I say skillable need, that term basically refers to whether or not Medicare and or managed care plans will cover the stay. Generally, patients come to us after, like I said, the hospital stay, and if they are Medicare patients, they have to have a 3-day qualifying event, which means you have to be in the hospital for at least 3 midnights, and then after that time, Medicare will cover the first 20 days at 100%, and then it covers day 21 through 100 with a copay of $152 a day, unless there's a supplemental insurance. Now, a patient continuously has to show progress towards their goals. Either if they achieve their goals or if they start plateauing, at that time Medicare or a managed care plan can say, well, they're obviously not benefiting in the way that we expect them towards their therapy, so we're going to discontinue coverage. At that time, that's when we really look at getting patients, back home successfully. And if they aren't at the level that we feel is appropriate for them to be able to go back home independently, we also have social workers that can help them. As Leslie said, if they find themselves in a situation where maybe it's not ideal, then we can look at different alternatives of living situations that would be beneficial for their lifestyle. We take, in addition to Medicare, we do have some people that will pay privately, generally with a long-term insurance policy. Sometimes the way I've seen many policies written, it seems that it's a multi-tiered benefit. So a policy will pay out more for skilled nursing long-term care versus assisted living is the next tier down, and then in-home care, not in-home health, but in-home care will have a lesser benefit as well. So I guess my biggest takeaway is, people don't come to my facility, or they don't go to skilled nursing on holiday. Nobody says, hey, it's Labor Day weekend, let's go to spend it at Manor Care. But I really encourage you to take a look at what your living situation is, and if you do need that oversight and those therapies, to look at skilled nursing as a viable option, because we say that the best way home is through our doors. Our goal is to get you home and keep you there, and keep you there successfully and with the strength and support you need to do so. And that's why we work with partners like Leslie and Holly to achieve that. So.
So I guess we'll open it up for questions here in Spokane. Okay.
Thank you. And we'll come back to Spokane too. We don't want to put everybody on the spot, but do we have any questions to start off right now? Okay.
Thank you. That was very well done and very informative for a caregiver. On the Medicare coverage for you, Erica,
yes.
Is that 20 days per year?
It's 20 days per event.
Per event.
So essentially, once a patient, let's say they've come to Manor Care and they discharge on the 5th of September. They have to have 60 days without going back to the hospital or going to another skilled nursing facility in order for that benefit to reset. You're welcome.
Okay, for retirement communities, assisted living facilities, skilled nursing facilities, are there state or national certification or accreditation programs?
For retirement and assisted living, currently there is not. The survey process is done through each state, which does have different regulations. Fortunately, I think for the state of Washington and the residents here, our state has one of the most stringent codes that we have to operate by, which I think is great for the user. But yeah, each state has its own operating codes, which I think in the near future we might see some things change to federal mandates in that area. But that's just for assisted living. Independent living does not currently have any codes that they get surveyed by through the state of Washington.
So for assisted living, how frequently do they come around and evaluate the facility?
We have a yearly survey. The state of Washington has a yearly survey, or upon any time there's any type of complaint. So there is a survey hotline that anyone can call into, whether it's a family member, a resident. And so if they call in with a complaint or a concern, then the state does have to come out and take a look at those as well.
And are reports available to the public on these?
Absolutely. You can go online at the DSHS website and take a look if there are any current enforcement letters, which would mean there's an issue that they've came in and found, came back and found again, that the facility hadn't corrected, and you'd be able to look on there and see what that issue would be. Were there any monetary fines placed on them by the state? Those are all there, as well as it is a state code that you have to post your state survey in a public location in all assisted living facilities as well.
And then skilled nursing is also surveyed. We do have a federal standard that must be achieved through Medicare guidelines, and that is another thing. You can go on the DSHS website or go to medicare.gov and type in skilled nursing, and you can see the ratings for all the skilled nursings in our area.
Thank you. We'll do this as the last question in Spokane for right now, and then we'll go to the other sites.
What is the caregiver to the consumer ratio in skilled nursing versus assisted living, both?
Well, and I can say what mine is, but I can't speak that that's going to be for every single facility. But we're about 1 to 10, and I say about because it fluctuates based on patient load. We can get 5 admits in a day, and then 5 discharges the next day. So.
And that's, again, with assisted living, there isn't a set number of patients per caregivers that you have. So it's really based on need. So it's up to the nursing director and the administrator to decide to make sure all the residents' care is being met. And I think that's another important thing with when you're in touring facilities. Do people look like they're well taken care of? Are they happy? Talking with the residents, how long does it take the staff to get there? Do the staff, when you're looking at the staff, does it look like they're running around like crazy? Those are the kind of things, because there isn't that standard of how many, like there would be maybe in a daycare, there can only be so many, children to each caregiver. There isn't that type of standard for assisted living.
And do you have an assisted living nurse available 24 hours a day, or is it just during daytime, or what is the generally in your Fairwinds, or are there any regulations around that?
There doesn't have to be a nurse on site for assisted living. There are regulations for caregivers, but they have to have, if you're doing any kind of nurse delegation, you have to have a nurse that comes in at least every 30 days, but you don't have to actually have a nurse on your staff in the building. So that's an important question to ask. In our community, we do have a nurse, actually 2 nurses there each 40 hours a week, but some have different ranges. Some have them there during business hours. Some have nurses there 24 hours a day. Some don't have nurses on staff. The care is provided by certified nursing assistants. So again, it just depends. There isn't a standard regulation in that way.
I had a question for Intrepid, for you. What is your daily hourly rate for, say, the nurse, or for the home health aide, or whatever? The two questions.
Right. Well, because we are Medicare contracted, it's not specifically a rate. It is the accepted contract that Medicare pays us. So the way that it works in home health is we are paid by episodes. So when we start care on a patient in home, we give them kind of a preview of the service that they're going to need, whether it's just nursing, or if it's nursing and physical therapy, or if it's the entire gambit of our staff. And then Medicare pays us half of the amount at the beginning to cover clinical costs and the labor costs for our clinicians. And then based on the reviews that we send them, we have to give them, we do what's called an OASIS, is our evaluation, and it's a very detailed evaluation. So they have predetermined payment amounts. So depending on what diagnosis we're treating and how many clinicians are used to treat that patient, depends on the payment that we receive and how often. We can keep recertifying every 60 days if we need to. So once the period is over, they'll pay the remainder of whatever that diagnosis amount pays. So it's different for every single patient. Mm-hmm. On Medicare.gov, we are all. You would just look under home health care, and they have a lot of information about how that works and the regulations that we are held to as well. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's open up our mics for our off-site locations. And while you're opening up your mics, and we'll start in just a second, I do have some contact information at the beginning. Holly talked about that whole moving process and packing process. So at the end, I'm going to give you some information about companies that you can contact for senior moving and things like that. But Anchorage, Alaska, let us know if you're there and how many people you have, if you have any questions. And if I skip anybody, let me know and we'll come back. Billings, Montana.
Yes, I had a question. If the doctor certifies that you need to have, say, assisted living or something at home, handicapped, confined to a wheelchair or something, and there has to be home modification, is there any help that you can get to help make the modifications to your home so that you can stay in your home?
You know, there are several resources in the community. A lot of patients will send in a social worker for home health care. And then there are several different contractors in town that actually specialize in reduced fees and will come in and do things for charity a lot of times. So depending on where you are and what services are in the community, the Department of Social Health and Services usually has a list of those approved contractors that will come in under a Medicaid benefit or that maybe have, you know, a reduced fee for coming in and installing handles in the, you know, grab bars in the shower or putting in wheelchair ramps, that kind of thing. So absolutely, there are a lot of resources for that. And
I just made sure to look that up too, because I do know we have locations in other areas, and I left my phone back with the actual number, but there's a group available called the National Association of Senior Move Managers, and it's called the Circle of Service, and under that they have all kinds of different sections for things like modification of your home, but it's called Circle of Service, National Association of Senior Move Managers. And I will, if I can before we end, I'll get that number, and if not, just contact me. Oh, thank you, Linda. We'll see if I can pull it up while we're answering questions. But, and then always fall back to, if you can't figure something out, give me a call or give me an email and we can connect you. But there's elder services and a lot of different opportunities to get help in your home. Billings, how many did you have today?
We have 2.
2, thank you. Very good.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Chewelah, Providence, St. Joseph. Clarkston.
Yeah, hi, Cindy.
Hi, John.
We have 8 here today, and none of us could think of a question to ask.
Nuh-uh. You
We're
guys
tired.
always ask questions.
I know it's unusual.
Well, thank you for being there today. And if
Thank
you
you.
think of something, break in, okay?
Okay.
Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
We had 4 and no questions today.
Thank you for being there, Coeur d'Alene. I'm going to skip over Colville or Colfax because I don't show anybody there, but if you're there, let me know. Colville, Providence, Mount Carmel.
There's just one of us today, and I don't have any questions right now.
Thank you for being there. Dayton General Hospital. And we're gonna jump down to Miles City, Montana.
Thank you for the presentation. We have 8 here today and 1 dog, and we have no questions.
You know, are you guys on the screen? You are. Where's the dog? Oh, we'll get to see the dog the next time, hopefully. Thank you for being there. Moses Lake, Samaritan Healthcare.
Yeah, we have 14 here today. I have a question about home health. With Parkinson's, there's no getting better. So what's the deal there?
That's a great question.
Do they, end of 100 days, you're out the door and down the road, or what?
No, absolutely not. At Intrepid, we have several clinical specialty programs, and Parkinson's is one of those programs. As we well know, that Parkinson's is a chronic illness that there is no cure for. So an approach on diagnoses like that, our goal is to come in and to be a resource to the family and to the patient as much as possible. So there are things that we try to do as far as physical therapy. A therapist is going to come in and help to make sure that you are and your family are completely aware of any surroundings in your home that may present obstacles or barriers that could be a fall risk. We do a lot of educating, and this is not a group that we need to probably talk about this with, but there are a lot of folks out there that do suffer from Parkinson's that aren't involved in something great like this, and they really don't know, and even worse, their family and their caregivers don't know. So we really try to come in and provide that education and expectations as to how to cope and to treat
but they were supposed to make sure they put down that I was at Mount Carmel Hospital.
We have a nurse that can come in and do medication management. There's, as you well know,
yes, it is
file for Parkinson's.
Okay, thank you.
Our nurse can come in and help patients and caregivers understand what those medications do, what medications that can interact with them. We also can bring in an occupational therapist to help adapt your home if there are problems in the home. One of the largest things that we have at Intrepid is our speech therapy. They go out a lot and help with cognitive issues that may be affecting families and the patients, and to access those resources in the community that you might not know that you have. Helping with Medicaid applications, helping get that equipment in the home that you need, helping make sure that you have the counseling and the support systems that you need to be able to deal with this. Looking at things as simple as nutrition and hydration and trying to help you and your family the best that you can manage your disease.
And again, you can do all that whether they're living at Fairwinds or at home or at an affinity apartments. And
wherever home is, that's where we'll be.
I like that. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being there today. Port Townsend, Jefferson Healthcare. Pullman Regional Hospital. Let's see, Tonasket North Valley Hospital.
One person, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you for being there. Walla Walla, Providence St. Mary. Okay, I'm going to open it back up to Spokane in just a second, but I'm going to give you a whole bunch of information really quick, so get your pens out and your paper, and then I will have these back at the Resource Center. Give me a couple days if you call me or email me. But Circle of Service, National Association of Senior Movers, the website is www.nasmm.org/service. And if you go on there, the website shows every state and movers that that are part of that organization in every state. So if you're in Montana, and we had the question from Montana, you can look up who's in Montana in your area. There's excuse me. I'll do the website one more time. So www.nasmm.org /service. And then here in the Spokane area, or in the greater Spokane area, senior movers, they're called Pack with Compassion. And their contact phone number is 509-270-7664. And if you look them up online, they're packwithcompassion.com. And then this one I'm going to look up a little bit more. I've had people tell me about them, but the only information I could find for contact was an email, and not everybody has email, so get back to me. But it's called Smooth Transitions of the Inland Northwest, and it's info@smoothtransition.com or smoothtransitionsspokane.com, and that's how you email them. And again, I know it's a lot of information, but the last one. And this last one is recommended by Angie's List. And if you don't know where to start, a lot of times Angie's List is a really good place to go. And this one, it's AAA movers. So it's not going to come up necessarily as senior movers or senior help, but it does come up under that. And it's AAA movers. And their number is 509-315-9970. And forgive me, Walt, for putting me on the spot, but was the Pack with Compassion the one that you and I had exchanged information about, the senior movers?
Yeah, I believe that's
okay.
the one that was set up in the spokesman.
Okay, so the Pack with Compassion, they actually had an article and did some work where they worked with the Spokesman Review to do an article. So those are, that's a lot of information. I will have that. And then we just had, if you didn't get to attend, this weekend we had the Parkinsons Power Summit. And we had 25 exhibitors and things there. And from that, I also have that directory of all the exhibitors that I can get out to you, but it's not focused on just those. There's many more. And so these aren't necessarily recommendations. They just were really great and came and attended on a Saturday on their day off. So I have this at the resource center available to email out. And then I have a question. Erica, Holly mentioned actually, going out and touring places and looking at different locations. Can you also do that with short-term care like yours and Manor Care?
Oh, absolutely. And I highly, highly encourage people to research different options that are available. Unfortunately, as I said, a lot of people come after a traumatic event, and not all rehab facilities are created equal. And I think it's very, very important to go and ask the questions about, what facility has the proven outcomes, who has the technologies, the capabilities, the experience necessary to get you or your loved one where you want to go, and that's home, whether it's at Fairwinds or elsewhere.
And the other part of that, I guess maybe I should have asked first, is depending on what you're covered under, you really should be able to ask for where you want to go. If you end up in the hospital, you had a fall, you have a hip replacement or something, you are allowed to say, I want to go somewhere, I pick that place. Is that right?
Absolutely. And I think that, and Holly mentioned location being a very powerful deciding factor when you're looking at a long-term solution. I kind of discourage, location, of course, is a considered your decision, because an extra 5-minute drive could mean the difference between you going home a week earlier or you going home at all versus having to look at different options. So educate yourself. You are your best advocate.
And I think people don't understand that they just think the hospital discharge planner, well, they say I'm going here. They don't realize that whether it's with home health or whether it's with skilled nursing, you have the right to say, well, they might not have a bed, but, you can always say, I'd like to go here. This is my first choice. This is my second choice. Same with home health as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. That was.
I have to add one thing on that too, because a lot of times, especially when you're going to a skilled nursing facility, and sometimes probably even home or to Fairwinds, the hospital does not move fast. And so when they do, they expect you to move fast. And sometimes you can be faced with picking a facility that you need to go to that afternoon, and you weren't even ready to make a decision. So it is completely your choice at all times. And you should always be given a choice list at the hospital that will have all of the skilled nursings, all of the home health companies. You should have options for assisted livings or independent livings as well. And you always have the right to take a little bit of time. They may want you to discharge that afternoon, but if that's not realistic for you because you want your daughter to tour or you want to ask some questions, that is your right. The hospital's going to fight against it, and they're going to say, oh no, you got to get out today. But you are going to do what you're going to do, and it's your choice, and you are, or your family is, your biggest advocate, absolutely. So don't be forced into going somewhere that you're not comfortable with. It can just start your whole experience off on the wrong foot.
Well said.
Thank you very much. We have one question here. Do we have any other questions in Spokane? We have one. Okay, so we'll do one question here and then one there, and then we're going to wrap up our day. So just a moment.
If hospital wants to discharge you and your options, say you wanted to go to Manor Care or you wanted to go to St. Luke's, but they don't have available bed, you have to take their second choice, right?
You, at some point, you have to make another choice if that is something that kind of drags on. But usually, most of the facilities have openings within a day or two, so that's not something that usually is a barrier where you get stuck going somewhere you didn't. One of the biggest things that you'll find is if you have a different insurance that's not contracted with the facility, that's really going to be a barrier for you as far as, I want to go to Manor Care, but they don't take my insurance, which is probably not the case because they pretty much take all the insurances. But that might be something that would kind of throw a wrench in your works. But you, within reason, you can't stay a couple of weeks. They're probably not going to put up with that. But, that afternoon, the next day, the doctors usually are understanding about that.
And you mentioned St. Luke's in your example. St. Luke's, because it is a rehabilitation hospital versus a skilled nursing extended care facility, St. Luke's actually has to approve and say that a patient can withstand that 3 hours and is qualified to be admitted. So it's generally not the issue of availability at St. Luke's. It's whether or not a patient is medically qualified to be in that level of care, if that makes sense.
So enough strength to be able to withstand the 3 hour of therapy a day. Whereas in Manor Care, one doesn't have to have that.
Correct. We could offer up to 3 hours of therapy a day. It's just not the minimum requirement.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a question for the home health. You said that a lot of times the doctors are not the ones that are recommending for them to reach out to home health. How do you help that person?
Well, it really starts with the doctor. So sometimes there's a big piece that home health is trying to educate physicians, because some of the physicians, just by complete innocence, they just haven't had that much interaction with home health. But it's such a vital benefit for folks, especially on a preventative measure. If you're having an exacerbation of a condition or you're experiencing weakness because of an illness, that's a perfect opportunity for home health to come in. So the home health as a whole are trying to educate the physicians to use that benefit more. For one, it's not anything there's no copays for a home health benefit. It's really a fantastic benefit. But what you can do as an advocate for yourself or your family is, when you, knowing that the home health is out there now, if your loved one or yourself is experiencing an episode like that, contact your primary care physician. They know about home health. They just may have not put the two together, So it's as simple as you calling for mom saying, I really want Intrepid to come in. We need some physical therapy. And the doctor's going to contact us, and we get the order from them, and we come in within 24 to 48 hours. So it's a very simple process. It's just there needs to be a lot more education on what we can do.
Thank you. I think you answered my question, but home health does not have to have a hospital event. Is that
Absolutely
correct?
not. Mm-mm.
So a doctor, you can talk to your primary care, get what you need.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
The other part was if you do not want to select skilled nursing facility X on the list and you stay another night and you're Medicare, do you know if they're going to take that because you made the decision, or does the doctor have to write an order around that?
Right. They have to grant it. They have to say that you have to stay inpatient. It has to be something that will fall under Medicare's guidelines. And a lot of times they will say, if you don't discharge today, we're going to charge you privately. So that's something to talk with your doctor about. Ask to speak to the doctor, ask to speak to the social worker and explain the circumstance. A lot of times it's just about communicating to them and asking them, I want to go to Manager Care. And a lot of times it's documentation. A social worker will put in their record that patient is going to discharge to Manager Care. They do not have a bed today. They will have a bed in the morning, and then everything is okay. So it's really about documentation and good communication, making sure that they know that's what you want. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to do what they can do for you to make that happen.
Thank you for a lot of really great questions and a lot of really great information that hopefully will start this conversation in many of the households here today and the households out in the community. But being able to ask these questions before things happen make everything go a lot smoother. And that's one of the reasons they're here today, but also one of the reasons the Parkinson's Resource Center is here, is so that we can start these conversations beforehand, have a good time while we're able to, and then when this comes up, you do it, and then you still, with a lot of those things, you can still have a good time, come and do the activities here because they know that we're here and they're going to make it part of what we do. So most people here in the room know about Parky, but these guys may not. So Parky is our mascot, and our founder, co-founder, saw some penguins on a trip after he retired, and he'd been diagnosed, and he said, hey, they look like us, they walk like us, and they're a family unit where they take care of each other. And so Parky the penguin became our mascot. And the other part about it is if you have a Parky, you're never alone. So thank you very much today. You each get a Parky. And I may have some questions for you in the future, but thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
us.
Thank you.